Wait a second! Before you get started on this tutorial, let me talk to you for a second. If you are not a student assigned to me by the school where I teach, so you're not in my room physically or in my room virtually, although I guess you are in my room virtually, let me tell you what you've stumbled upon. This is one in a series of drawings that is inspired by the pop art movement of the 1950s and 60s, and it's a way for me to teach that movement. There's a video that explains what pop art is, the movement, and I would encourage you to go see it. I'll link to it in the description of this video, so you can click that and check that out, and then come back and do all of them in the series if you want, or do this one and move on with your life. Or don't do this one and move on with your life. The world is your oyster. But if you come back, then I would encourage you to also put on some Christmas music, but not just any Christmas music. The pop art movement came from the 50s and 60s, so I would pick that Christmas music. So the Christmas standards, Bing Crosby and Frank Sinatra and Judy Garland and Ella Fitzgerald. So 40s, 50s, 60s, the really, you know, the good Christmas music. You know what I'm saying? Next rule, have fun when you do this. It's not about being perfect. It's about having fun and exploring the experience and just being present and enjoying it. Let's get started. I am pumped about this one. I'm really excited about the pop art Santa Claus. So pop art's a lot of fun because it's just it can be kind of silly and playful. So that's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna start with the Sharpie. You can do pencil and then color, like go over it with the Sharpie later if you want. But this is a pretty simple design, so you may be able to do it without the pencil and just skip right to the Sharpie. All right, let's see what happens. I'm gonna come to this center third here, and I'm gonna come right here and draw a diagonal line. Okay, now I'm gonna come straight across and draw a horizontal line. Then I'm going to go a little longer. Then I'm going to draw the opposite angle line here, diagonal. Okay, now I need to connect these, so I'm just going to connect those. Right? Don't worry about making them super straight, because we'll fix it later if we need to. All right, now I'm gonna come just like the width of my finger here. So just any measurement, but a little bit over here. And I'm gonna go draw a parallel line to this, or close to parallel line. So it's just gonna go up like that. All right, now I'm gonna draw this horizontal line, and I'm gonna extend it past here. All right, so this distance, I'm gonna find this distance. Remember to pause the video if you need to. I'm going to find this distance from here, and I'm going to mark that, and then I'm going to draw this opposite angle parallel to this line, but I'm not going to go all the way up, right? So I'm just going to go up to like that far. Okay, now I'm going to connect here to here. Oh, I made that a little short, didn't I? It's okay. I'm gonna come here. So if you want, you can go all the way here. That's what I should have done, but I'm gonna work with it, and I'm just gonna draw a circle. Now these shapes don't have to be perfect. We'll come back and fix them later with shading and stuff like that. All right, now I'm gonna draw some jagged things. Remember that it's pop art. I'm not gonna make this super realistic. I'm gonna come straight down here. So find this point here and then pretend to draw a line. If it was going straight down, I'm gonna start right there. I'm gonna mark that, and then I'm gonna do the same thing over here. All right, that's where his beard's gonna start. But his beard is gonna be super jagged. And I'm just gonna kind of work up both ways as I go. So they're kind of symmetrical. But again, don't make it, like, don't worry too much about being perfect. Okay, that's how I did it. Yours doesn't have to look exactly like that. Okay,
Now I'm going to come in a little bit here, like the width of my finger again, because that works for this. Okay. And now I'm going to draw a square. Okay. So these are just simple shapes we're doing with Santa. Now I'm going to do a triangle, so I'm going to try to find the middle. Here's the middle of this line, like from here to here. I'm going to try to find the middle. And I'm going to put it right there, like that's the point. All right. Again, doesn't have to be perfect. So don't freak out if it's not perfect. This isn't a geometry class. That would be awful. I don't understand people who enjoy geometry or any other math. It's okay if you do. All right, now I'm going to draw a little triangle inside that triangle. The midpoint is going to be the same, right? Like right here. Okay. Now I'm going to draw a parentheses, like laying down, and then another one. Okay. Great. I'm going to give him a big eye up here, just a circle. And another one over here that's hopefully about the same size. I can adjust it if I need to because they're going to be black, so I can like fix them. All right, now I'm going to do that curved rectangle shape that you see a lot for the light in Santa's eyes, and I'm going to go ahead and color that in. One thing you'll notice if you're using markers, especially like Sharpies on regular typing paper, it will bleed in. So see, this is getting smaller here. That'll probably happen here. I'm going to make it a little smaller so it's about the same. Okay, so the light's coming from this way, right? Good. Now I'm going to give him just I'm going to draw a C. And then I'm going to draw a backward C right here. And then another C over there, and there's his nose. Pretty simple. Yeah? Okay, great. So there's Santa. Now I want to do some cool stuff because I don't want just his face on here. We're going to draw ho, ho, ho all over it. But we're going to do it at different sizes so that it gives it a little bit of depth and perspective. So the closer to the center ho, ho, ho is, the smaller it should be, and the farther out it is, it'll be bigger. So you'll see how it works. I'm going to come up here and I'm just going to draw like the bottom of a big H. Okay? And that's it. That's all I'm doing there. Then over here, I might put a big O. Okay? And then I need to fill that in. And keep in mind, like, I'm drawing around or behind my drawing, right? So those are big. I'm going to do a big H here. It's going a different way. Like that. I might do that. Okay. And then maybe a big O here, but just like that. Great, so we have these big, gigantic letters that we can't even see all of, right? So now I'm going to draw medium-sized letters here, and they can go any direction. So here's an H. Don't be intimidated by, like, the bigger letters, the bubble letters. It's just a combination of lines, just like everything else we do when we're drawing. So I'm going to have to go off the paper on this one. That's cool. What can I do? An H over here. So you just want to, and then I'm going to suggest that there's a circle there, right? Pausing for just a second. Okay, so I'm suggesting there's a circle there. I'm going to come up here. Let's go this way. I'm going to draw an H kind of coming out from behind his hat. Oh, that's not very good. That's okay. I'll draw another one here. Let's do this. So there are ho-ho-hos all around him. Okay? And then we can even draw, we're going to draw some even smaller ones here. Like they're farther away. Okay? Does that make sense? They're closer in. This will all make sense in a bit. Remember to pause the video if you need to catch up. Okay? Okay, so we got huge, medium, small. I'm going to go tiny. I'm just going to go as small as I can make them. Like there. In fact, maybe we just write them. Okay, so they're farther away. All right, great. Now it's time to color it. So here's what I'm going to do. Actually, it's not time to color it. I'm going to move to this bigger Sharpie with the sort of the bladed tip. You don't have to do this. You can do this with any Sharpie, so it doesn't have to be this, but I'm going to give it a little bit of a shadow. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to draw like a straight line like that, just the width of the blade of the Sharpie, right? And then I'm going to bring that down, and I'm not going to worry. I'm like coloring over some stuff, and I'm not going to worry about that, okay? I'm going to come here, do the same thing here. I'm going to come down, and the reason the shadow is on the left side is because we know the light's coming from this way, right? So the shadow has to indicate that as well. Yeah, I'm going to do this. I'm going to even shadow this line a little bit, not quite as much because I don't want to mess up don't want to get in the way of his eyes, but I'm just going to come down there like that. Okay, I'm going to say that's good. This line needs to have a shadow. And this line, same thing. This line, same thing. I I actually went a little, I shouldn't have done this, come off that much, but that's okay. Same thing here. So each on the left side of the lines and on the bottom, like if there's a bottom line, like right here on this line, I'm going to do that. Same thing here. That might be right. We'll see. Let's see, where else? On the circles are a little bit different. Let me show you here. I'm going to start with my blade on the line so you don't see it, right? And then I'm going to come off of it like that. And then I'm going to disappear again. Let me thicken that up a little. And again, remember, these things don't have to be perfect. On the inside, it's the opposite on the circle. I'm going to come off here. I'm going to come off here. Actually, they need to be straight like that. Maybe. And this is what I was talking about earlier, like you don't have to worry about being too perfect on everything because you're going to come back in and do shading anyway. And you can fix a lot of things when you do that. Okay, I need to do this line. And this line. And this line, and this line. Okay, then on the little ones, give them a little bit of depth, same places. I'm gonna do that. So on the left sides, left and bottoms. I think I got them. Oh, you probably heard the chickens. There are chickens out. Okay, now the question is, yeah, you know what I'm going to do? My other Sharpie that I was using is a dark blue, not a black, because I was running out of normal black Sharpie, but I'm going to go ahead and color in his eyes with the black. Oh shoot, I'm making it bigger, huh? So it doesn't matter as long as you keep them equal. This is a disaster. Okay, that's pretty good. Okay, now it's time to color. So let's do that. I'll speed this process up. Let me tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to start with this light green color, and I'm going to color the background, right? So I better sharpen it. All right, so here we go. You know what? It occurs to me that it looks like I have nail polish on. I don't. That's paint. I've been painting. I should have scraped that off more. I just, letting you know in case you're curious. While I'm talking, since I've slowed down to talk to you, let me talk to you about coloring. Like what I'm doing right now gets a little bit boring because I'm just coloring the same color over the whole thing. In painting, this is called toning the paper, or the canvas, or the paper in this case. And you would do it before you painted anything, right? Because you want your background to be green in this case. But it's a little bit different when you're drawing, because you don't. It's kind of hard to draw on top of that. But one thing I am doing, and it's important, is I'm trying to be patient because this gets super boring. At least for me, just laying on the same color over and over again. But you do want it to be pretty evenly colored. So what I'm doing is, like, I'm going multiple directions, yeah. So once I get it on there, I'm kind of going back over it like that, just to make sure it's all the same sort of thickness of color, same tone, if that makes sense, yeah? So be patient and do a good job, and go keep coloring different directions. Don't forget the insides of your circles. I almost did. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with what I have here, because I'm going to go add another cool layer to this. Actually, I'll come back and do that. Let's move on. We need the red. Let's go with the red. Not really sure. I laid out several because I wasn't sure which one I wanted. I'm gonna try this one and we'll see. So we're gonna color his hat red. I mean, that's obvious, right? Oh yeah, that's good. Okay, now in this case, well, it's easier to, like, you know, color along the lines in the direction they're going. And as long as you're careful about, like, coming back and smoothing things out, there's no problem with that. So I'm pushing a little harder. Number one, I want this to be pretty even. But I also want to get as much of the, like, white out as I can. So you'll notice that I switched my grip like this instead of like this, because it gives me a little just more power. But you want to be careful because you also have less control this way, because you're not used to writing or coloring this way. So it's easy for it to, you know, fly out of the lines. And sometimes it's okay to color outside the lines, but in this case, see how I switched because I'm in a smaller area here, right? So if I do this, I'm afraid I'm going to lose control, and I don't want to. So I'm going to give myself a little more control in there. And now I'm just pushing super hard because I really want this to be a pretty good uniform red. In fact, I may be pushing too hard for this paper. I might put a hole in it. So I'm gonna stop a little, because this is just regular typing paper. Okay, so I really laid some in there. And here you can see, like, if you look closely, I don't know if you can tell on the video, I don't think you can, but some came up here on the O, and that's no big deal. That wasn't because I got out of the lines, it just, like, some of the dust flew up there, and that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. All right, I'm gonna stick with this red just to keep things simple and come down and do his bottom lip here. Remember to pause the video whenever you need to pause the video. Okay? Now you got this up here. Now normally this is white, but there's a lot of white on the paper, so I've decided to make this like a jingle bell. So I'm going to come back up here with my marker, and I'm gonna put just little dots here. Okay. So that's the hole where you hear the sound come from. And now I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do a little bit of a tricky thing here because I want to give it some depth. I'm sharpening. Remember that the light is coming from this direction, so I have two different yellows here. Yeah, I have a darker and a lighter. So I'm gonna, on the side where the light is not coming from, I'm gonna color with the darker yellow. And I'm gonna do it in like half circles. Okay. And now I'm gonna take the lighter yellow and I'm gonna color the lighter yellow up here where the light's hitting it. And you can barely tell, right? Like, you can barely tell. But now I'm gonna come back in with a darker yellow and I'm gonna just darken it up. And in fact, I'm going to do an even trickier thing. I'm going to take this tan color that I'm going to use for his face, and I'm just going to super carefully and lightly come in like that. Okay, so there you go. That's a little bit more detailed, and I kind of like it. Okay, now this is the color I'm going to use for his face. Santa can be any color, so I'm going to go with like a tan. You can pick the color of your choice, and I'm not gonna color too dark. I'm just gonna Now here's a situation where, like, because I'm not going very dark, you can really see the lines, like the direction that I colored. So I'm going to go from different directions, and it is going to make him a little tanner. But I don't want it to look like like I colored him. I want him to look like natural. In a pop art, this isn't at all realistic kind of way. But the point is, I don't want to see the lines, like which direction I colored. That's pretty good. All right. Let's see. I need to color in his mouth. I'm just going to make it black because he's saying ho, 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 so his mouth's open. Okay, now you might think we're done, but we're not, because there's more to do. This is a cool effect. All right, I have a ruler. I have a straight edge. You don't have to use one at all. I'm only using one just to show you how you can. Now I'm going to make it, I want to draw lines coming out like he's in a tunnel, kind of. Right? That's why we did the big, medium, smaller, tiny, so that we can give it some dimension. I'm going to pick a darker green, just a darker shade of this color, and I'm going to, remember, I don't want to draw through the stuff I've already drawn. I'm just going to like do this, then I'm going to come down here, and I'm just going to draw this line, and then I'm going to come down here too and do the same thing down here. Right? I'm going to give up this straight edge pretty soon. But basically, I want everything to radiate from the center. Right? So I'm going to say the center is like that nostril. And I'm just going to do this with this green, with the darker green. And I'm only going to color on top of the green, right? Because, because I said so. Because the green is the whatever he's in, whatever world he's in, or whatever magic he's flying through, it's the green substance. And you see how I'm using the straight edge to kind of keep it symmetrical. I feel like I could do this. And they don't have to be like, you're going to do this with several different colors, so you don't have to like worry too much about, well, where does this line come over here? Like, I'm not trying to match those up necessarily. So you can do this, and the thing is, you can also eyeball it, right? Like, you don't have to use a straight edge at all. Okay, now I've done that. I'm going to pick another green color. I'm going to set this here because I'm going to come back to it. So I'm setting this over here so I can find it. Let's do this color. It's a much lighter green. And I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm going to put these in between. Oh man, that's almost too hard to see. Ah, it fell apart. How about I try yellow? Yeah, I like that. Okay, I'm going to go yellow. And you see how I can just freehand it, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. But I am glad that I have those guides, so it'll be fairly symmetrical. And so what I'm doing is sort of, I think of this as like if you go to warp speed or to light speed or something, like in Star Wars, when you say punch it Chewie and the stars start to go like this, that's what we're doing. But just with various shades of green or yellow, because, you know, that's how you make green. Now I'm going to go back to this color and I'm going to thicken these lines up a little bit. So I'm really just sort of scribbling a little bit on each side of the line. This is going to look really cool when it's done. Okay, let's see, what else? Oh, I wasn't very careful there, was I? Let's try another color just in between. So just another shade of green. radiating. This is called radiating because it's going out from the center. So there's a vocab word for you. You're welcome. You should use it somehow. Here's what you should do. You should talk to like your mom and dad and be like, hey, we should go for a drive. And let's start in the center of town and we'll just radiate outwards. And they'll be like, what are you talking about? And you'll say, I don't know, I learned it in art. And then they'll say, well, Mr. Parrish should stick with art and not science. Okay, there you go. I think that's pretty cool. I think that looks pretty cool. Let's see, you know what though? I'm gonna give it, I need to find another color. Here they are. I think I wanna give it just a little bit of a blue line radiating out. Maybe this might be a mistake. Can't really tell. Maybe a darker blue. Oh gosh, this is dangerous. Yeah, I'm just gonna draw like an occasional blue line going out. Because I really am trying to make a point that he is flying at us with toys and, you know, toys and goodies on his sleigh, like the song says. Okay, I feel like that's pretty good. Pretty happy with that. Okay, so that's a pop art Santa. I hope you enjoyed doing it. I enjoyed doing it. We'll continue with our pop art theme soon. All right, see you later.